Hello everyone, welcome to the course on web development from Basic Uni. So from this lecture we will start learning about CSS. So basically what is CSS? CSS is abbreviated as cascading style sheets. CSS is used to beautify our web pages. Like as we had already learned that HTML is like skeleton system for a human body and the outer coverage skin is uh, can be considered to be as CSS for our website. So CSS basically beautifies our web page. So to understand this, let's open youtube.com. Here we can see that this youtube.com cannot be built in this way with just HTML. As we were building the HTML web pages, we had seen that this type of styling was not available there. Here you can see there is some styling for the buttons, these images, these videos, and all coloring and everything. This can be done by CSS. So we'll start learning how to use CSS one by one. So basically, the syntax of CSS contains the property and values. Property and value. So value can be any number of values. So values are basically of different types. So the value can be user defined or it can be predefined. If we consider a value to be as user defined, so in the user defined values, you give some values to those properties. Okay, so we will understand how exactly we give the values by ourselves to the properties later. And for the predefined property predefined values, uh, we will have a particular value in the documentation. So in the documentation everything is defined related to CSS, so in that we can choose the property values. And the property can be anything, like the property can be color, font family, text align, or anything. Here you can observe that for this comment the color is green. So this is also a kind of CSS applied here. So there are three ways there are three ways to include CSS in HTML. So the first one is inline CSS, and the second one is external CSS, and third one is internal CSS. So these are the type of including CSS files to your HTML document. So for the CSS, let's open any HTML document. Let's add some style here. Um, let's say color. Let's make it blue. So yeah, here we can observe that this our section can be seen in the blue color. So this is how the inline CSS basically works. We have added the CSS styling inside of this H2 element. So this is how inline CSS work. Basically, inline CSS is not used a lot. We usually prefer this external CSS, adding a external file to the HTML document. In external CSS, we basically add an external document. I'll just write it here. In the inline CSS, we will add styling to particular element in HTML document. So in the external, we will add we will add an external CSS file. We will add an external CSS file out of this HTML document. So in the internal CSS, what happens is um, in the internal CSS here inside of the header, we will have the tag named style. So here we will write some property name and values. So first, suppose I want to add some styling to H1. Here we have added to H2. So let's add some styling to this H1. H1. And for this H1, suppose you need the background color to be this color. So if I open our web page, we can see that color has been added to this our title, that is H1 element. So this is how the internal CSS works. For the external CSS, we basically create one external file out of this HTML document. So the most important thing to learn in CSS is selectors. So selector is basically a pattern in which we can select different elements of HTML. Okay, so there are several elements, right? So H1 element, we have LI element, anchor tags. So we can select all these type of elements. That is what we have done here in the tutorial 3. Here I did it. So yeah, this is what we have done. We have selected a element and added the styling to that element. So yeah, this is how basically the selectors work. We can also use two elements at once, so that we refer to as combined selectors. Combined selectors. So in the combined selectors, we use more than one element. More than one element. Suppose you want to show, suppose you want to apply the styling to both H1 and H2 element. You want same styling to both of these. Then what we will do is, first let me remove this, and here H1, and also you want to apply to H2. Then we will just do this. I'll go here. So yeah, we can see this is a H1 element, H2 and H2. This and this are H2 elements. So to all these the styling has been applied. So this is how basically the combined selectors in CSS works. You can also use as many as number of elements over there. So there is one more type like class selectors. There are class selectors. Class selectors. So for the class selectors, we basically have uh, a class. We will mention these classes inside of our elements, and we will follow this basic syntax, a dot, and then this is followed by the class name, followed by the class name, and then we will have the property and the value. So this is how the class selectors work. In the class selectors, what we have, we will use a dot operator and then followed by the name of the class, and then we will use the property and value names. And then the next type we have attribute selector. Attribute selector. So for the attribute selectors, what we have is what we specify some attributes. We will specify the styling for some attributes. Suppose if you want the styling for your anchor tag, suppose let's say you have an anchor tag, yeah, and then you have href is equal to www dot, let's say, example.com. Let's say this is the anchor tag you have. So to write CSS for specific type of this reference, you want styling only for this reference, means you can use this. You write a and then href is equal to .example.com, and then you will write the property and value. So this is how you use the attribute selectors in CSS. If you want styling only for this web page, suppose you want only CSS for this site, means you can write it in this way. You can have styling for any type of attributes. You can mention any attribute over here. And after this class selectors, we had one more, like it is ID selector. So in the ID selector, basically we specify some ID. In your HTML document, you will have to specify the ID for your particular element, and then you will use that ID for styling your elements. Here, the basic syntax is we will use hash for ID selectors. Here, a hash after followed by ID name, and then the same thing continues, like property name, property, and then value. So this is the syntax for the ID selectors. So these are the different type of selectors we use in HTML. So this is not the end. We still have a lot of selectors. Okay. We basically use these class selectors and ID selectors on your more usual. And the next thing we have pseudo class selectors. So the pseudo class selectors are basically used to style states of the elements. You know, some elements have a different type of properties. Suppose in the YouTube we can see, in the youtube.com we see, if I hover on this button, this background color is being changed. This property is known as hover property. So here also these buttons, the hover property is applied. And suppose you want to change, there is one more property named as visited. If you visit some link, yeah, here we can say it. If you visit this intro page, this is said to be as visited. So this is one more property. So using that we can style our HTML documents. So the two types we have, there are so many types. So basically most of the times we use this hover and visited. And how it is used is, we will first write our selector name. It might be any element. For example, it can be h1 element or anything. And then after this, we will write our pseudo selector name. pseudo selector class. So that is, it can be hover or visited. So, and then we will write the property name followed by the value. So this is the way we use the pseudo class selectors. And then the next thing we have is pseudo element selectors. Suppose you want to apply CSS only to particular element, particular child element. Suppose let's say, yeah, let's say here in the section we have this section followed by H2. Suppose you want styling only to this H2 if it is a child element of section. So in this, what we do is we will write in this way. See, it is pseudo element selectors. So for that we write, suppose in pseudo element selector, what we basically do is CCC. Suppose you have a p tag and you want to apply the styling only for some particular line. Suppose you want to apply the CSS only to the first line of that element. So inside of the paragraph, there can be any number of lines. You want to apply CSS only to the first line. In that case, what we do is we will write first line. So this is a predefined value. And then we will, suppose you want to change the color, we will make it brown. So this is how the pseudo, so nth child, parent of a child, this is how it works. The next type is combinator selector. Combinator selector. In the combinator selector, we can select the parent tag along with its child tag. Suppose we have so many tags, Suppose we have an article tag. I will write it outside. Suppose we have an article tag. Inside of this article tag, we have some h1 tag. And then we have some p tag. And then suppose you have a span tag. And then below this, you have a div tag. Inside this div tag, you have a p tag. And then you have a p tag. Suppose, let's say this is the structure of your parent element, that is article. So if you want to apply this, you want to select the parent tag along with its child tag. So in that case, what you have to do is, suppose we want to apply the styling to article, and then we will write this greater than symbol p. If you want to apply styling to all the p tags inside of this article tag, then what we do is we will write it in this way. So basically this is how it works. So the last type of selector we have is universal selector. Universal selector. So universal selector basically selects all. It selects all the content of that document. So the syntax we have is a star. Star represents universal selector. And then whatever you can write here. You can write property and then value. So This is how the universal selectors work in HTML. Um, we will learn all these types one by one. Let me open this, and you should have to try all these techniques one by one with me. So I hope that you have this document already, as we have already learned HTML. So let's go live. Let me inspect. Yeah, we can see that for that li tag, this is the default styling. That is, list style type is this is a default styling they have provided. So this is nothing but, you can see here, this dots kind of thing for this home. That is nothing but this styling they have given. Suppose you don't want these dots, then we will change the type of this styling. So let's change it here itself, or let's go. We wanted to change the styling for the element li, and the property is list style, and you want to make it none. You can select any property. So to make you understand, let me just use it for now. We will go here and we can see those dots have been removed. Yeah, even if I refresh, you can see those dots have been removed. Here you can see the change has been applied over here also. So you can make it anything. Suppose you want it to be square. You can see instead of the rounded dots, you can see the square dots over here. So this is how it basically works. You can make as many as changes over here to understand how these things usually work. And then let's go to our file, and let's learn applying the class selectors. Okay, so suppose you want to make changes here. Let's delete this. We don't want this for now. Or else we can just create our external file, right? Let's create an external CSS. You can use the link tag, you can see this is a type of style sheet, and then href, we will give the name of the file, style.css. CSS, and then let's create a file over here, style.css. So here, let's make the changes. Suppose you want to make changes, no, not for the li. We will go here. Let's add the class names here. So the class name is special. Let's give it as special. This is a very special class. And which one? And also, let's suppose you want to apply here. Class special. So to use that class, we can use dot special. It will be applied to all the classes that have the name special. So you see the spelling. Yeah, okay. So the next thing is we will add the color. We can add any color over here. Let me add a blue color. And let's say I want to add the font weight. You can add any font weight. Let me just make it this way. Let's make it bold. Okay, so let's save it and go to our web page. We can see the changes reflecting over here, right? You can see this dot is blue, but here it is not same because we had applied the class name only to one list, that is first list, and our title has been changed to different color, that is blue. So this is how the class selectively work. You can also select for multiple elements. Okay, so let's see, we go here. So let's say you have this class here also, class special. So if you have in this way, it will work here also, but you don't want it to reflect over here. You want it to reflect only here and here. So for that, what we will do is, let's go to our CSS file. Let's see once it is h1 and li. So you wanted the styling for the h1 tag, right? H1, and then you wanted the styling for the li dot special. So yeah, we can again see the styling for this has been removed. Earlier it was applied to this also, that is, this is our section. For this also it was applied. Now we can see the styling is not there for this. So this is how adding styles to the multiple sections work. And then we also have one more thing like descendant combinator. Suppose let's say let's say in this li tag you have one em tag. So yeah, you can see it. Inside that we have a li em tag. So you want to apply the styling only to this em tag, that is inside of this li. So for that, what we will do is, let me comment it out. First thing we use is li, and inside of the li you want styling for the em tag. So for that we will use it in this way, and we will give whatever the name we want. Let's say we want to give the background color. Let's give it some different color now. Let's say black. So yeah, we can see that has been applied over here. That doesn't looks good. So let's change the font color also to make it more visible. Color, let's give it some whitish color. So yeah, you can see the styling has been applied to the emphasize em inside of the li tag. So this is the way we use the descendant combinators in CSS. And the next thing we learn is adjacent combinator. So adjacent combinator is nothing but you will get the next sibling. Like, let's say, uh, yeah, let's say you want to apply styling to the P tag that is next to this H2 tag. You want to apply styling only to the P tag that is next to our H2 tag. So for that, what you will do is here. For that, what we will do is H1 P. So here we will make changes. Let's say color. You want some blue highlight, and then we will see it. So let's comment it out too. So yeah, the thing is that this is inside this section, right? So for that, let's make independent elements. So yeah, the mistake we were doing was, here we are using the H1 plus P, but here we have the H2 tag. So let's make it H1, and here we have H1 plus P. So this will work now. Yeah, we can see this is turned to some violetish color. So yeah, that is how it works. A pseudo class selector. The pseudo class selectors are basically used for the buttons. Here, let's say, where is our anchor tag? So yeah, here we have used an anchor tag. So you want to change some styling when you hover this. Means we have already learned about the hover property. So let's say for the anchor tag, you want to style when it is hovered. So you want to change the color. So the default color is, you can see the default color is blue. You want to change it to some other color when hovered. So let's make it red. And then you want to change the background color also. Let's make it whitish color. So yeah, you can see that when I hover this, the color has been changed. You can see the color is turned to red, and the background color has also changed to some other color that is clearly not visible because it is whitish, and we will change it to some. One more thing is we have this property. You can select the colors of your choice by using this property. And so yeah, this is kind of clearly visible now. So this is how the pseudo. And one more thing is, suppose you want to select inside of the body. We have the body tag inside of all the HTML documents. Suppose inside of this body tag, you want to select the P tag to H1 that contains the property special. I mean the class special. Suppose, let's say, to make you understand it in more better way, um, let's say we have all this, and then you want to inside this body tag, all this content we have is inside the body tag itself. So inside the body tag, we want to apply styling for this P tag that has the class special. Suppose Let me give the class special. So how we will use it in the CSS is, let's say inside of the body, h1 plus p, we know how it works. And then you want to use the class special. Class special. Let's change the color. Let's change the color to some different color. Let's say dark blue. Some background color. Background color to aquamarine. So this is not visible here. Let me see the glitch. So the thing is, instead of the p tag, we wanted to apply the styling for the class named special, right? So inside of the p class, p element, we want to apply the special class. So here the code we have written for that, inside of the body, a p tag followed by h1 tag, and then inside of the p tag we have this special class. So for that we are applying these changes, this styling. So yeah, let's here, yeah. So let's see. Yeah, we can see that the changes have been applied here. So basically this is how these styling type of syntax work. So the thing we will learn about the IDs, about IDs. We didn't saw it here yet. So let's say you want to apply styling by referring to some ID. So this is a lot of code here, I know. So let's say you have an ID here. So let's give the ID as heading. So you want to apply the styling for that. Let me comment it out so that it does not interfere with the new styling code we write. Um, we want the styling for the heading ID. Let's change the color. The color can be, let's give this. Let's go live and we see this, the color for this is changed. You can give any styling here. You can give any styling here. And then suppose you want to apply the styling to a ID that is inside of one p tag. For this, let's give an ID as ID selector. You can give any name. So inside of the P, you want styling for this ID selector. So for that, what you will do is you will write some code. Color, let's give yellow, green. And then let's give the background color some brown color. So yeah, we can see this has been applied over here. We also have one more thing, like suppose inside of the li, where is our li? Here. Let's write some more HTML code here for the better understanding. Suppose I have and then we have li tags, list 1, and then we will give the class name, class is equal to a, and then we have one more li tag. Here we will give the class name as class name suppose ab. See, these are the two different classes. This is space separated, right? For that reason it has two classes, a and b. And the next thing is we will write one more li and we will give the class name class ab, and then list 2, list 3. So yeah, our HTML is working fine. So we want to apply the CSS for this. We want to apply CSS for this. Let's say you want to apply the elements that contains the class A, at least one class A. There can be any number of classes, right? It can have one class A. So for that, let's write li and open the square braces and then class, and then we write this curly line and then is equal to and then A. So this is the syntax, and then suppose you want to make the color. Let's say the color can be anything. So yeah, we see that it has been applied. The color has been applied only to the first two list. We can see this class is contained, A class is contained inside of this and first and the second one. This doesn't contain A class, it contains AB class. It is not separated by the space. So that is how it works. We have one more type of styling that we had learned. For that, let me comment out all of this, and this is universal selector. So you want for the entire document you don't want any list styling. Done. So yeah, for the entire document you can see there is no list style. Here we can see that we had commented out all this and we have used this universal selector, and it has been applied to the entire document. Suppose also you want to keep the color of the entire document, like let's say some blue. You can see it has been applied to the entire document. So this is how the different type of selectors in CSS works. We will learn more number of things in the new lectures.